All right, so I'm looking on Trello. So what's WAWP?
What are we playing?
Oh. God.
You dumb shit.
I need a drink. Hey everybody, welcome to Will and Drew's Gaming Retrospective. You're listening to episode 22 for the week of April 22nd, 2019. I am your host, Drew, and I am joined by... Will, I haven't even had time to make up a name for you. Fuck it, it's Will, everybody.
What's going on?
Where do I begin?
I don't know, man. We're here. We're still alive. We took a week off, and apparently it was for business. No, it really was.
I don't know what you were doing. I was working. Yeah, man.
We have a lot going on lately.
Both of us have been like balls to the wall busy with stuff that has nothing to do with the podcast.
Nope.
And it's been a little bit crazy, but it's all good things. Nothing bad.
No, nothing bad at all, which I guess we should be really thankful for.
Yeah. Every once in a while, you just got to kind of stop and just, that old cliche, stop and smell the roses. Like everything is going in a good direction. Both of us, I think we have really good vibes happening right now in our lives, even though we have like no time for anything.
Yeah, it's absolutely true, man. But I can't complain. I really can't.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it, man. Well, let's, we're a little short on time this week, so let's dive right into things. Let me get the social media stuff out of the way, and then we'll start talking, man. Welcome to the show, listeners. Thank you for hitting download. Thank you for subscribing. If you're not, please do so. It helps us more than you realize, more than I realize, maybe. I don't even know. But subscriptions are good. And we're on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at WDGRPodcast. We're on the web, excuse me, at WDGRPodcast.libsyn.com. Of course, you can send us a Gmail. You can send us a fax. WDGRpodcast@gmail.com. Will, if somebody wants to follow you on social media, how can they find you?
Yes, just log on to Netscape and then type in Will_gear.
I have not heard Netscape in 20 fucking years.
Well, now you did, sir.
Oh man, that brings me back. And you can find me on GeoCities at ScionStorm.
Back at the high school library.
Back at the tripod. I used to have a tripod page when I was like 15. Oh man. Also, don't forget, folks, if you're not subscribing to the show, iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, any favorite podcast app of yours. I am so off my game today. Take the reins, Will. What are you playing, man?
Oof. Well, I had to take a hiatus due to our business affairs with Sekiro, but I'm still enjoying the game, and I can't wait to get back to it, man. I've been thinking about it a lot, but not playing it, unfortunately. But that's okay. Like we said, for good reason.
Yeah, I haven't really had a lot of time to spend in front of the television either, man. I played The Division for about an hour and a half a couple nights ago, and that's been about it. Like I've spending a lot of time on the computer working on like editing video and learning how to use programs that I've never used before, and it's really kind of just drained me. And even when I have like a little bit of time to just sit down and unwind and play a game, like I just find myself just staring off into space.
Yep, I've certainly been there multiple times, and I think that it's sometimes gaming is a little bit of a chore, and it might be weird to hear that, but it can be.
Yeah, I mean that's something that we've touched base on in the past, briefly. I'm trying to avoid it being an obligation because it's something I still love. I don't feel obligated to play anything that I have right now. Anthem's kind of in a bad spot, and I'm still waiting for the developers to come out with more information about what they plan on doing to fix it. So that has just been kind of sitting on the shelf, and when I have a little bit of time, I'll play The Division, but I have like absolutely zero interest in rushing through that game. It's one of those things where, if I beat it, I beat it. If I don't, I don't. But I'm having fun with it when I play it,
Certainly important, man. It seems like a fun game. Like, even though it seems very intense, given the context of what you're actually doing and kind of the subject matter. But
Hmm.
either way, it seems like a fun game to kind of pick up and play for maybe like 45 minutes and then just call it a night.
That's the kind of nice thing about it too, because there's so much on the map. There's side missions everywhere. Obviously, you have your main story missions, um, and there's a lot of other things to do as well too. Like you can go hunting down, certain types of gear, or they have all kinds of collectibles that are scattered throughout the map. And then in this game, they also kind of introduced something that seems to be a little bit more robust than last time, with like strongholds and checkpoints, where basically you can go into an area that's controlled by the enemy, take it over, and then people that are on your side essentially move in and start colonizing that spot. And slowly, what you're doing is building like this network of supplies, and it's kind of adds a little bit of a base building aspect to the game, which is and that's really putting it loosely. Like it's not even like um like a base building game, but just to kind of give you a reason to go out of your way to establish these extra outposts. I don't know. It's
Sure.
it's nice. And like you could go and pop it on and play for 20 minutes and just do that. And that one outpost might take you 20 minutes, and it's
Hmm.
not critical to the story, which, for me that's a problem. It doesn't keep me focused, but
Hey, man, whatever works. I think it sounds like a quite a dynamic game in a lot of ways.
I'm looking forward to having you check it out. I think you'll really enjoy it. It's very stylized, it's very cool. I know you like your cool games.
I certainly do.
Um, and I feel like it's very, very much a cool game, but it's not over the top. It's still very based in realism.
Hmm.
So it's hard to explain without seeing it.
Yeah, I mean they have a lot of like important landmarks. Like there's like a lot of stuff going on in DC, right? And then there's like
Yeah.
crashed airplanes and things like that.
Well, I've only explored a small chunk of the map so far, because the way it's broken down is by character level. So you can go into a zone that's maybe level 20, but you're going to get wrecked. And they'll tell you on the map when you're looking at the map. It's like, hey, you need to be this level before you can really hold your own.
That's helpful.
Yeah. So there's no missions popping up over there. There's nothing in those areas yet. I'm just kind of hanging out in this section that's like level 5 to 9, because I've only played for like 4 hours total or whatever. And it's a nice way of kind of giving you the option to progress a little bit faster if you want to, but like also warning you like, this isn't really for you yet.
Sure. Yeah, no, it makes sense for that kind of game. I mean, I can't really make the comparison like, oh, well, in Dark Souls, it doesn't tell you what level you have. I mean, like, it's just not one of those games that's comparable to something like that. So it wouldn't be fair of
Yeah.
me to do that. It,
Yeah,
it it serves its purpose in certain games, and I think that's one of them.
definitely. Definitely. We got a lot of news we want to
Mm,
talk about today.
we certainly do.
There's a lot going on in the world since we last spoke. Um, Xbox has announced an all digital Xbox. Have you heard about that?
I only heard about it when you mentioned it last night, I believe. And then
Okay.
I decided to obviously do a little bit of research before the show. And from what I understand, it's an Xbox One S that's discless.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, honestly, my initial gut reaction is kind of like, meh,
Yeah. I think that kind of
like
sums it up.
I read a couple comments too. And like the first comment was, this is going to be a hard pass for me, like in all caps. And I was like, alrighty then.
Yeah. I mean, I think if it was an Xbox One X, maybe there might be a little bit more demand for it. But my understanding is that's the exact same price as the S disc version is, or like let me look this up because they're asking $249 for
Mhm.
this thing, which I think that the regular Xbox One S is the same price.
I wouldn't know. I'm out of the
Um,
Microsoft loop.
yeah, I'm checking it right now, real quick on Best Buy's site, and yeah, they're I can get all right. So I guess the regular retail price is $299,
Okay.
and that includes a game. So I can go to Best Buy right now and buy the One S 1 terabyte with the Division 2 for $250. It's on sale, right? And they're including these fucking Apex coins for Apex Legends. So or I can buy the all digital one, which doesn't play discs, for the same price. It doesn't come with shit.
Sure.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. It comes with Minecraft, Sea of Thieves, and Forza Horizon. So I guess that's cool, right?
Yeah.
Um, but it's I'm kind of torn because like I'm talking to like you, or I'll talk to our friend Damien, and you guys have gone completely digital at this point with your gaming.
We have. I was reading about Damien kind of taking that step, and I
Hmm.
think it's a step in, or it's a step in the right direction, because I think that clearly this is the direction that most companies and software developers are probably trying to go in.
Yeah,
It makes
that's a
sense.
that's a fair statement. Like eventually, there will be no physical media.
Oh yeah, it's inevitable.
Hmm.
But it's just, I don't know. It's a weird thing, man. Like it's odd that it's an Xbox One X or Xbox One S. I almost said X.
Hmm.
So hard to keep up with those fucking versions.
Hmm.
But either way, it's just weird how it's just kind of like a step back, but a step forward.
Yeah.
In that sense that it's kind of like an older model, but at the same time, it's newer with like a newer concept that is a step in the right direction. So I don't know, man. I mean, I guess it's typical of Microsoft. Is typical of a lot of game companies that or game console companies that basically want to just either get a cash grab or just kind of give a hint in where they're going. So maybe
Hmm.
that's kind of what it is.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I don't know really who's going to buy this. Maybe somebody who's on a budget. Maybe somebody who, I don't know. I think of it as like a Chromebook almost.
I think that's a fair comparison. Um, to me, it seems like it's the kind of thing where if you don't already have an Xbox and you're against physical media, then yeah, maybe you would jump in on this. But it's just kind of a weird thing to have it priced the same. And yeah, you're including 3 games, but the games are older.
Hmm.
And Sea of Thieves, I don't think really sold all that well.
No, it did
Minecraft,
not.
Minecraft, you could buy on your fucking phone for like 14.99. So then now you're getting Forza Horizon 3, which is a beautiful game, but I don't know. It seems like they could do better.
Yeah, I agree. It's an odd audience, like whatever audience they're trying to target.
Hmm.
I suppose you're right. Maybe it's just like a budget-friendly console that is just stripped down.
Yeah.
I think maybe they've done an analysis on how many people are buying, digital games. Maybe that's a part of it.
Sure.
And, maybe some guy in a boardroom just had a bright idea and he was kind of, a madman in theory of the group and was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna make a decision here, and what do you guys think about this? And maybe they just
Mm.
jumped on board. I mean, who knows? I mean, those kind of things happen behind the scenes.
Yeah, we're never going to be privy to something like that.
No.
But I know I would go into this kicking and screaming because I can't play my goddamn discs. And to just kind of hammer the point home too of like why I am against going completely digital. And I guess this is kind of not really the thing, but part of the thing. I just saw a couple days ago that the servers for Burnout Paradise on the Xbox 360 and the PS3 are going to be going down, and that makes that game unplayable. And
Mm.
it's kind of frustrating because yes, they've remastered it and reissued it on the new consoles, and that's lovely and fine. But it's kind of, I think, goes hand in hand with this discussion because you have a platform, or rather, you have a game that's reliant on servers, and now that those servers stop running, you can no longer play that game, even though that game is inherently very single player.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like World of Warcraft where you're surrounded by people and you rely on other people to play.
Right.
Like, this is Burnout Paradise at its core is a single player game, and now it's going to be unplayable.
Yeah, that's a much larger issue, I guess. I mean, there are certain servers that get shut down, and obviously it's sad for certain people that are still playing a game. But generally speaking, they usually take, I mean, years to shut down, right?
Oh yeah, I mean that game came out years ago. I could look that up too. Paradise. When did that come out? 2008. Wow. Okay. So we're talking 11 years after the original release.
Yeah, that's a good run.
Hmm. It is.
Um, but
It
yeah, I mean,
is.
if you're saying that it's going to make the game unplayable,
That's
then
my understanding.
that kind of does suck
Yeah.
because what about the people that are still playing that game? Like there's plenty of people that play older games like still.
Yep. Yep. And if you let's say you go to a Goodwill and you find a copy of it sitting on the shelf, you want to pick it up. Nah, not
It's
gonna work.
just, yep, nope. You just tell people
So
that you have it and it sits there on the shelf, I guess.
so just a clarification. I looked it up according to Rock Paper Shotgun. Um, it does seem you can still play it in single player, but that's it. You won't be able to do any challenges or things like that. So
Okay.
the game will lose functionality.
Okay.
So, what were we gonna? Oh yeah, PlayStation 5.
Mm. Yeah, I gotta say, man, I found out about some chatter and chit chat with this on Twitter.
Yeah.
I just saw like a hashtag, or I saw something trending, or you know what it was? It was somebody I follow on Twitter, and I pay attention to his tweets because I'm a big fan of him. And he had
What's his name?
mentioned
Shout him out. Shout him out.
it's Epic Name Bro. He's a really big personality in the Soulsborne world, and we're gonna discuss him a little bit later as well. But he was just kind of giving his opinions and thoughts on PS5, and I was like, wait, what? Like, when was this? Like, was this announced? Like, what's going on with this? I was unaware of any kind of announcement or any details, so I only just looked again before the show today to see like what's going on with it. And as far as, or from what I can see, there's definitely some details that were released, and I don't know where the source is coming from, but Mark Cerny, his name was dropped in a couple things, and apparently he's been revealing some details about the system. One of them is that apparently it's going to be affordable to what it's going to actually be, which is a very advanced system. But, the PS3 was shockingly high in terms of price when that came out, so
Yeah.
we'll have to see, like, when they actually release the details and the prices, because I think right now people are like, yeah, I don't know about that.
I remember when the PlayStation 3 came out, not only was it insanely priced, but it was also impossible to obtain.
Yes,
And
yes.
so like the secondhand market on that system was ridiculous for like 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were people that would buy them and spin them and double their money at like $1,200.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do. I'm glad you brought that up. I actually forgot about that. But yeah, they were incredibly difficult to acquire.
Yeah. According to Games Radar, looks like they're believing it's going to be around $399.
Ooh, that's the current
Um,
price of the PS4 Pro. The only reason I know that is because I was at Best Buy earlier and I saw it for $399. I was like, huh, I don't remember the PS4 Pro being this low. I always thought it was like $499.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't either. I'm like so behind the times on like console pricing because like I'm not buying consoles. Like,
Yeah.
it's you buy it once and then you're kind of done.
Usually.
Usually.
That's usually how
Yeah. That's the key word here.
consoles self-destructing and 18 revisions aside.
Fair enough.
But
in an ideal world.
right. But I mean, if they drop that at $400 and it really is this huge leap over the PlayStation 4, which by the way, forget the PlayStation Pro. The PS4 still is gorgeous.
Yeah.
It's a gorgeous system. So they're still like clearly pushing out some high quality graphics and gameplay with it. So I can only imagine, where do we go from here? Like, what is going to make the PS5 that much better? Is it going to be a VR thing? And apparently they're saying that it is going to be compatible with existing VR. From what I can see, they're also talking about backwards compatibility, which I think is a must at this point.
Mm-hmm.
I think going forward, these platforms really cannot ignore backwards compatibility.
No. They really can't. And
those
it
days
shouldn't.
are gone.
I agree. And they shouldn't introduce it later on either. Like, make it that way day one. Like, PS5 launch model, backwards compatible. Don't strip it later. Keep it there.
Right. I agree. Microsoft, I think, really kind of set the standard for that. Even though the Xbox One wasn't backwards compatible originally, those guys have busted their asses making it backwards compatible.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
It's still so weird to think that, like, when the PS3 came out, I believe it was just like one or two models like on launch that were PS2 compatible, and then they
Yeah.
just stripped it like almost immediately. It seemed. It just seemed like if you didn't get one of those, like that was it. You're done. And then
Yeah.
like it turned out like the launch model was like not even worth trying to acquire either because it was like a smaller hard drive and like there was like
Yeah.
a lot of other issues with it. It was larger. So I mean they made improvements, but like I said, just don't strip that.
Yeah. I think it's really important to keep that in because gamers, like especially those that are buying digital games now too, like that's another reason. You know, if you're buying a digital game, you're looking to save space on your shelves,
Mm-hmm.
and having 18 consoles defeats that whole purpose.
Yeah, I think these companies are starting to catch on to the fact that like the minimalistic lifestyle is really trending right now, just in the
Hmm.
world and especially in like the tech world. So, like you said, like we don't need a PS4, a PS4 Pro, a PS5. Like
Right.
you're just it's ridiculous. Like you have to get like a giant entertainment stand. You have to get like a 11 outlet surge protector from Best Buy. Like it's just come on.
Hmm. You're
Give
spot
us
on.
one or two consoles. Let's be Microsoft. Let's have a Nintendo. Let's have a PS5 or whatever, and
Hmm.
call it a day.
And Nintendo even announced, or I don't know if they made an official announcement. I know we weren't planning on talking about Nintendo, but there's word coming out that there is going to be a new model of the Switch coming out soon.
Oh, really?
Um, yeah, The Verge posted this yesterday. Yeah, it looks like they posted it last night at around 10:40. And I guess there's a Japanese newspaper, Nikkei. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right. Nikkei has reported that Nintendo's coming out with a smaller Switch. It's more intended for portable play, but it will still retain the ability to be hooked up to a television. And they're also claiming that a more powerful version of the Switch is not far off as well.
Hmm.
The Wall Street Journal believes that that's going to be coming out before the end of the year. Um, I don't know if that's the case. I know that I am really close to being able to buy a Switch and not have to pay anything for it. So
Oh, you cheap fuck. Hey,
hey,
man,
hey,
whatever
I'm
works.
patient gamer right here, buddy.
I guess so. I mean, you've got some willpower.
uh, yeah, well, I don't have any money, so
Do what you can.
um, yeah, it's just it's a lot. It's crazy, you know. There's all these different things on the horizon, and if you save $1 starting today, every single day, by the time the PlayStation 5 comes out, you'll have like $580 something. So you could theoretically buy the system and a bunch of games and have a great time.
It makes me like just imagine like this manila envelope with like that little clasp thing on it, like the little fold down like legal things, and it just has like somebody wrote like PS5 in crayon on the outside. And they're just shoving like dirty like fucking dollar bills that they're finding like at the couch and shit in there.
I found some quarters and
Yeah.
pennies in the parking
Couple
lot.
paper clips and shit. It'll count, dude.
Every little bit counts. We'll get you a
Yeah.
coffee can like they have in that Folgers commercial.
Yeah, shake it around.
The guy saving up for his son's baseball glove. No, he's saving up for a fucking Nintendo Switch.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, the newer version, the better
Yeah.
one.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know. I will say that graphic wise, it's probably going to be insane because the PS4, like you said, is already an incredible system that puts out games that just look insane on it now. And the PS4 Pro is very impressive in itself, especially on 4K. I've seen it. But yeah, we're at this point now where how much further can we go with graphics? I have seen some pretty crazy like PC graphics on, games like The Witcher 3 and some newer titles on, super high-end PCs. So maybe it'll be something comparable to that.
Right.
But I think that it may require 4K or it may require some other things. That would be my guess in terms of like, what are the catches to how this system's going to look as good as it does? Because I don't think it's going to look maybe as good as you imagine out of the box. There's going to be some catch somewhere.
I think they're going to lean heavily on VR.
Yeah.
I think Sony has really captured a niche audience with VR. They're the only ones that are doing it right now, aside from the PC.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they have a good product. I have not personally used PlayStation VR, but every single person I've spoken to that has loves it.
Yep.
And so I would not be surprised if the PS5 goes heavily in that direction.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Oculus, I think, has teamed up with Facebook recently.
Did they?
Yeah, and I've always been interested in Oculus because I believe they released the Oculus Rift was the first like VR, headset or whatever. I'm really behind on VR stuff. I'm not very educated on it, but
Yeah.
I know that what's his face, the guy behind oh yeah, John Carmack. He is the guy that I believe is the CFO or CEO of Oculus, I believe.
Yeah, he moved over to them. I forgot about that.
Yeah, he's doing something big with them, and he's a brilliant mind for that.
Yeah.
So I think that's perfect. But I'm interested to see where VR goes because I'm not a VR person, but maybe I could be.
Mm.
So maybe the PS5 is the entry or the gateway into VR for me. Who knows?
Yeah, I've never tried it. I've only played one thing in VR, and it was at like a Dave and Buster's kind of place.
Right.
And it was
Exactly.
fun. It was a lot of fun, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I've talked to Joe about it before, Joe Donuts, that we had on the show, and I can't imagine myself sitting, in a computer chair on the couch with a giant headset
Mm.
with like the actual gaming headset as well, and just like sitting there like in with this thing on. Like I don't see that as being like a home thing. Like you imagine it as a Dave and Buster's thing, right? Like it seems more fitting in that environment. So maybe they're going to streamline it. Maybe they're going to slim it down. Maybe they're going to make it just more home accessible. I think that might be what's needed.
The one that I played with at the Dave and Buster's place was it actually read your body movements as well too. So like basically you were a team of 4 people. There were 4 people with plastic guns in your, you have like these like plastic rifles in your hand,
Mm-hmm.
and you're defending a base, and it's full 360 degrees. So you're defending this base from attack from all these different sides, and you're like crouching behind cover and shooting over the cover, but there's no cover like in reality. Like you're literally just crouching in open space. It was very physical. You're constantly like ducking and moving around and trying to, like, you're literally dodging bullets that are coming at you.
Well,
It
that's
was
just
really,
it.
it was fun. I mean, it was completely immersive, but at the same time, I also felt like ridiculous, doing this in a public place where nothing is coming at me, and I'm like acting like I'm like dodging like lasers.
Yeah, it shows and proves that it's that effective,
Mm.
apparently. I mean, I watched some kind of like live thing on Oculus on Instagram like a couple weeks
Mm.
ago, and there was some like video game personality, and they were there, and I didn't realize like how physical it really is, like you had
Mm.
mentioned. I really had no idea.
Can be.
It
It can
certainly
be.
can, yeah, depending on the game, I guess.
Right. Have you seen this Capcom stick?
I have. You showed it to me last night, and I did look at it briefly when Vic posted it. And yeah, it's a head scratcher in a way. And
Yeah.
it's a strange design. It's a little bit almost like not thought out, but at the same time, like it's kind of clever.
Yeah.
Like, apparently they put this thing on like a Capcom logo, and it's like the original, like, white and blue with like a little bit of yellow in there. So it looks cool, but at the same time, like, is it functional? Is it more of a novelty piece? What do you think?
I think this is crap. I think I think this thing is fucking hot garbage.
Okay.
It is ugly. It is just completely. It is the ugliest thing I think I've ever seen in video game history.
Wow.
It is. Who did they make this for? What purpose did they make this for?
I don't know.
Is this meant for like sitting on your sofa? Because if you're not sitting next to somebody else, this thing is going to go flying off your legs. Like you can't possibly play this by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So is this supposed to be on a tabletop? Who the fuck has a tabletop that's large enough for this fucking thing? Is this, what buttons am I pressing? You can't tell because they're part of the goddamn logo.
Jesus
Like
Christ.
what the fuck were they thinking when they made this?
tell me how you really feel, Drew.
It is ugly as shit. It is. I don't care how many Sanwa joysticks they put in the fucking thing. It is not worth $200. It's got 16 games, which are emulated using Final Burn Alpha. I can put all this shit in a Raspberry Pi with a joystick for $90.
Yeah, it's
and they want to charge 199 pounds, right? That's according to NintendoLife.com. So I haven't done my British to USD conversion in a while. Give me 1 second. I'll take care of that for you.
Sure.
GBP to USD, $259.72.
Yeah, that's
for 16 games in this god awful thing. I would not display this in my living room.
I'm already having visuals of you like chainsawing it.
Not at that price.
It cost me more to buy the chainsaw and the fuel.
Dude. Seriously. Dude, this is more expensive than a fucking chainsaw, and a chainsaw is more useful.
Yeah, that's true. I hate to say, man, I feel like this is a cash grab in a way from Capcom. Like, I feel like whoever's sitting at this board of directors and making decisions about what they're putting out for peripherals and stuff like that, they're lost, man. Like, this is not what we want. Like, even fighting game enthusiasts are probably looking at this thing like, what? Like, no. Like,
no.
What is this? Like,
no fighting game enthusiast would waste their time on this because there's not enough fighting games on this.
No.
It's got Street Fighter 2 Hyper Fighting. It's got Final Fight, which isn't a fighting game, but, you know, I'll lump it in the same category. Darkstalkers is on here. And then, like, all right, the rest are just, like, straight up arcade games. You got 1944, you got Alien vs. Predator. That's kind of cool. I'll give them that.
It's a little cool, yeah.
That's a really good version of the game. Let's see here. Armored Warriors? What the fuck is that? Capcom Sports Club? What the fuck is that?
Dude, they just... I was just going to say, like, I know you're going off on a tangent, but, like, I'm just thinking about how much better this thing could be, right? Like, how if you hire the right person in terms of, like, art direction and design, number one. Yeah. And then two, like, the game lineup. Like, what the fuck? Like, put, like, classic, like, Capcom fighters on there. Put some classic, like, side-scrolling beat-em-ups if there's anything licensed by Capcom. I'm not too familiar, but make this more, like, you know, wholesome.
Yeah. I think if you're going to charge $250, you know, you're basing it strictly on hardware and not the games that they're including, because these 16 games, while they're good, they're not the greatest. I can understand maybe not including a game like X-Men versus Street Fighter. I don't know what kind of licensing issues there are for this kind of stuff. That seems to be a big thing when you're dealing with like reissues. You know, all the classic systems, they have to get the license to put them on there, stuff like that. But man,
can you just imagine though, like if it was built the right way and it had a better ergonomic design, it was more aesthetically pleasing. The art on the stick was like gorgeous, like art from like, you know, X-Men versus Street Fighter, Capcom, like or MVC, all that stuff. All combined into one, like this beautiful layout. Dude, with those games installed, that thing would sell so well.
They have not even acknowledged their core market with this. No. And I'm not even talking about the games. Like, all right, and our buddy Vic did post this in our mailbag room. Want to know our thoughts on it, and he says he's not going to get it because it's a ridiculous price too. And don't forget, you can't use the stick anywhere except for the games loaded in it, as far as we know, as well. So
people will probably mod it, but still.
Yeah, but I mean, like, all right, if you were able to hook this up by USB to your PlayStation, I mean, that would be a little bit different. But, like, people that play with arcade sticks at home mod their arcade sticks.
All the time.
They swap out buttons. They swap out joysticks. They paint them. They make them look, you know, pretty. You can't do shit with this stick.
Well, I think it's like clear buttons, right?
The buttons are painted the same color as the fucking Capcom logo.
Are they really?
Yeah, look at the picture.
Because I remember you mentioning that last night, and then I looked at it, I was like, I think they might just be like clear buttons.
I don't believe they are. I mean, maybe. But it looks like it's raised up to match the rest of the paint job.
Yeah,
like, go into the article, and there's like a thumbnail for the YouTube video.
You know what it looks like, dude? It looks like if the Michelin Man was like deflated.
Oh God.
I mean, look at it though. Like, what does that remind me of? Like, it reminds me of like maybe
Stay
like
Puft Marshmallow Man.
that deflated Michelin Man, maybe a tooth, like a weird tooth. What else do I have here? I don't know, man. It's just such an odd shape.
And you can't do shit with it. Like, if it were square and ugly, like, at least you can fucking, put some paint on it. And, I mean, you can paint this too, but it's still going to look like it says Capcom.
Like, I mean, I love the fact that it, like, in a way, like, I kind of like how it has the Capcom logo, but, like, they should have done it in, like, an old school, like, really aesthetically pleasing way. And I think what's ruining it is the actual body, like the body and the fact that the
body is terrible.
They wrapped it around the font. Obviously, they want the body to like wrap around the font, so it kind of had like it almost looks like it says Capcom if it didn't say it. But like, who the fuck designed this thing? Like now, I'm actually getting like pissed.
Now we're on the same page. Now you're mad. Get
now
mad.
We're yelling.
This is bullshit.
Turn down your volume. Well. We'll move on from this monstrosity for now. We'll get back to it, but I think it's we've shit on this thing enough. I don't think people are going to buy this thing.
No, I don't know anybody that will.
No.
If you're going to buy this, send us a fax.
Yes.
Let us know.
We'll never get it, which is a good thing.
Just like the stick, we'll never get it.
We'll never get
it. So we had in our Discord room over the past week a discussion that I think it didn't come up intentionally, but there was a bit of a controversy after one of our friends posted some very deep strategies for Sekiro. And it brought up a conversation about spoilers in games. What qualifies as a spoiler? And you and I kind of wanted to address that a little bit more detail than we were able to previously.
We did. It's perhaps a larger topic than we might know of or be aware of for that matter. I really don't know the status on what people think about spoilers, but for me and for you and for other people in the room, I think that we realized that we were very much in some ways on different pages. Some of those pages were similar. Some of them were the exact same page, and then other people were on a whole different chapter on like what they consider a spoiler.
It's a complex situation, I feel, because when most people think of spoilers, they think strictly story.
Sure.
Which I get.
Yeah.
If you're waiting to see a movie, and if I came up to you and I told you some huge spoiler on a movie, that's going to ruin the movie for you. Especially if it's something that's been closely guarded.
Mm-hmm.
But if I tell you like the best way to go see that movie, that's a little bit different. If I say to you, hey man, you got to go to the theater at 6:00 at night on a Tuesday when it's only $5, like now I'm giving you strategies on how to see the movie.
Sure.
Now that's not a spoiler. I know this sounds like ridiculous, but
we have to break it down to make the audience understand here.
Right. So now we have a game like Sekiro, which is, I mean, I don't know anything about the story. I don't really know anything about the game except what you guys have told me because I haven't played it. But the impression that I've gotten from that game and the Dark Souls games is that the strategies for defeating the bosses is about as much of a spoiler as the actual storyline is because it's kind of about the journey of getting there.
100%.
Yeah, tell me a little bit more about that.
Right. So, as I think about this now, I don't blame that particular person that did decide to strat dump because that is his first experience with From Software games. And those games are notorious for strategies that you want to figure out on your own. They're engineered to throw you into this world with very little direction and very little emphasis on, an open story. Like even the lore of these games takes sometimes months and years for people to really understand properly.
Hmm.
They really throw you in blind, and they're known for that. And if you're not initiated into how those games are engineered, then you may feel the need or the obligation to strat dump to your friends because you might be thinking, oh, well, I figured this out. I'm going to help these people out. No harm, no foul kind of approach. But to people that are familiar, that's a massive mistake and a massive spoiler because of those reasons.
Hmm.
So I hope that makes sense. I tried to sum that up and round up those thoughts as best as possible, but I think anyone listening that's played those games will completely agree and understand like what I'm saying.
Do you think that there are any other types of games that kind of fall into that category?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would say so. I
Like
think
what?
that I'm trying to think of one right now. I would say if I had to think of one immediately, I mean, I guess I could say Metal Gear Solid. I mean,
Mhm.
those games also don't really provide tips. Sometimes there's tip things that pop up on the screen and things like that, but a lot of that is, exploration. I think a game
Mhm.
that doesn't do a good job at like throwing you in completely blind would be like a AAA title, like a
Mm.
Red Dead Redemption 2, like those kind of games. It's like a goddamn encyclopedia of knowledge that is continually popping up on the screen saying like, try this and do this and
Mm.
go here and here's your marker to go to the next destination. And like, it's too much reveal. And then you feel
Right.
like you're playing a program versus playing an actual game. So
Hmm.
I think that with Sekiro, it's really no different than Dark Souls. Like if you start strat dumping to friends, like I'm gonna either freak out, get mad, or I'm just not gonna read it. And then
Mm.
I'm gonna think, well, shit, like I read something and now I can't get it out of my head. And
Right.
it's a big problem because like those
Yeah.
games, like I don't want anyone telling me anything about Sekiro. Like in terms of strats, where to farm things, where to find items, where to get this special attack. Like if I want to do that, like Joe said, I'm going to use Google. I'm going to
Mm.
jump on Fextra Life. I'm going to jump on, Wikia for Sekiro or whatever. I'm going to figure it out on my own on my accord, and it would be my prerogative to do so. So I think that it's important, and I think that as a fan of those kinds of games, I'm going to always be on the defensive because it can be ruined so easily.
Do you think anybody that wants to find those types of tips on Google or whatever, um, like, do you think, I don't want to say less of them, but like, do you see anything wrong with that?
Uh, no. So that's a good question. So Tom and I um, were having a conversation not that long ago about how we feel about needing to look something up, whether it's a walkthrough or a tip on how to beat a boss or where to find an item. I believe that with those kinds of games, at some point, it's okay to like look that up because there are some people that will play, say, Dark Souls 1 or 2 or 3 or whatever, and they will fight a boss for a month or more
Mhm.
until
Right.
they figure out how to beat it because they refuse to like get any strat from anybody, look up any information on how to do it. They want to do it completely blind, and I totally respect that. But Tom and I have agreed that we have a limit. We have a
Mm.
cap. So like if I can't beat a boss or if I can't get past an area and I feel like I've tried everything, I may look something up,
Mm.
but briefly. Like I'll kind of like look up just enough to like get out of the spot that I'm in, and then immediately I'm closing my phone or I'm closing that tab, and then I'm
Mm.
going back to blind again. So like I ordered the strategy guide for Sekiro because I love Future Press, the publisher and designer of those particular strategy guides.
Mhm.
They make amazing strategy guides. Probably the best strategy guides you'll ever see. And they have been making strat guides for all of the Souls games, all of them.
Mm.
So I bought it because I want it for just to have, but I'm probably not going to use it. I haven't really
Right.
used any of them for really much of any of the games. I've used
Yeah.
them here and there, but in the same way that I would use the internet briefly. Go to a page real quick, maybe look something up about a certain stat, close out the book, move on. So it's like
Right.
it's a tool, but it's not an answer.
Hmm. I like the way you put that. It's a tool, not an answer.
Yeah, so I
You
think
know,
that it's okay. If you're struggling, look it up. Look it up, but
yeah.
don't use a walkthrough for the entire game. I mean, I feel like you wouldn't really want to do that with any game.
Yeah, and I have in the past, for
I've done it in
whatever
the past
reason.
too, when I was
Yeah,
younger.
yeah. And I definitely don't feel like it was as rewarding as it could have been if I just kind of figured it out on my own.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I mean, I've played games with like a strat guide all the way through, and I still had a blast. But sometimes it's just like it's a little bit too much work,
Yeah.
back and forth, and pausing the
Oh
game,
yeah.
and checking the chapter. And I just think that here's my final take on it. Just be careful with what you say, and maybe ask people that are playing the same game that you're about to talk about. Hey, what can I say? What can I not say? And I know that sounds so like restrictive, but I think it's more respectful of that
Mm.
particular person because everybody has such a different perspective on what they consider a spoiler.
Yeah, it's not about restrictions at that point. It's about just, I think, finding where everybody's at.
Yeah.
I think providing unsolicited advice is kind of unfair.
Yeah, and like when I talk about games to other people, I might say like, "Hey, like where are you at in the game?" And even when
Mm.
I ask that, I get nervous because I'm thinking if they tell me something that I'm not familiar with, then it
Yeah.
could spoil it. Like that's how strict I am. So like with Tom, for example, I'll just be like, "Hey, so how many bosses have you completed?" And then I'll get an idea of how
Mm.
far he is into the game. Like I will think of ways to like get
Yeah.
creative with my questions.
Yeah. It's very strange thinking of a game in those terms.
It
You know.
is. Who would have
Um.
thought that, you'd have to be so eggshell like, with stuff like
Yeah.
this?
There's something that I want you to listen to as well too, and any of our listeners, I think this is worth checking out as well too. Stone Age Gamer is one of my favorite podcasts, and they just recently put out an episode last Friday. So we're recording on the 18th, so it would be the one from April 12th. I believe it's episode 249 or 349. I don't know, but they talk about Sekiro and spoilers and or not spoilers. They talk about Sekiro and um, whether or not the game should have an easy mode.
Mm-hmm.
And
Big topic.
I think that they put it better than I could kind of regurgitate to you. So
Sure.
I really want to encourage people to go and listen to it. It starts at around the 20-minute mark or so, 25 minutes if I remember correctly.
Okay.
They go into a whole thing about it, and I think it's very well done. And this is coming from adults just like us who have families, and it was a refreshing way to hear, uh, you know,
Sure.
refreshing thing to hear.
I'd love to
So
hear that because there's been a
yeah,
lot of chatter about the quote unquote easy mode being, essentially not available in the game and whether or not it should be. I'd love
yeah.
to hear that.
Before we part for the day, we'll send you that link.
Certainly.
So, last topic though, we are going to move on to something that you kind of brought to the table as far as gamer personalities and having to explain themselves why they may like a game or dislike a game. And I'm not. I mean, we've talked a little bit about this too, but I think you've had some personal experience with this.
I think it's a very interesting topic that relates to how we operate and conduct our lives and our thoughts and our opinions in general. And it really sat with me, I think, for that reason. And to be brief, there was somebody on Twitter, and
Hmm.
he is somebody that I mentioned before, and he basically he's a big, community guy. He's very well known in the Soulsborne community, so perhaps he felt obligated to have to explain his reasonings behind liking Sekiro, and that's really what this is about. And he created a very long, chained like thread on Twitter, like one of those sort of
Hmm.
extended tweet like chain things. And I read through all of it, and I was just like, man, like I respect this guy so much for what he's done in the community, but like if I had the opportunity to see him in person, I would be like, you know what, man? With all due
Hmm.
respect, like, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you explaining to the community and to your fans as to why you
Hmm.
like the game? Like,
Right.
like now you're just reaching like this point of like just you're being ridiculous. Like, there's no need to do this. If you like a book, if you like a bike, if you like anything, you like it. And if somebody asks you why I like it, of course you're going to tell them, but like you
Hmm.
don't need to explain like in this journalistic way, like to like on Twitter for that matter, why you like the game and why you think that it's better than the other Souls games. And I understand he gets a lot of backlash from like a big community of people that are like, oh, well, you said that this was your favorite game and this and that. And it's like, yeah, I said that at the time, but like I evolve as a person. People's thoughts and opinions will evolve over time, and they should. But
Right.
I just found it to be very gross and unnecessary to feel
Mm.
like you have to get to that level where you have to feel that obligated because of other people's comments and backlash that you have to explain why you like a game. Like, I think that's just really upsetting.
It's not a phenomenon that's like exclusive to streamers and you know public personalities either. Like if you just go on any form of social media and you say that you like anything,
Right.
you're going to get dozens of people, if not hundreds of people, telling you why you're wrong for liking that thing.
Right. And that's why I kind of equated it to so many different aspects of social media and just life in
Yeah.
general. Like, it's just, I feel like a lot of
It's
people,
toxic.
it is toxic, and they end up feeling the need to justify things. And we've all done it. I still do it every once in a while. Like, I feel like I have to
Sure.
justify something if somebody doesn't really understand like what I'm trying to get across. I think it's
Mm.
human nature. But at the same time, with a game, like, I mean, it was just, I don't know. It was upsetting to see somebody that I respect so much falling to that level.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, it could have been pressure. It probably was pressure where he was just like, you know what? That's it. I'm just going to say like how I feel about the game, and I'm going to tell everybody why I like it. And I get it. But at the same time, if you read between the lines, you realize like that it's not for the right reasons.
Just anecdotally, a couple months ago, we ordered a pizza from a place that we order from on a regular basis, and the pizza was different for some reason this time. It was just a cheese pizza; it wasn't anything fancy, but the sauce wasn't quite right. The way the cheese melted on the crust, it wasn't quite right. Even the crust itself wasn't quite right. Everything was just a little bit off.
Mm-hmm.
So my Nikki, my fiance, posted on the local Facebook page. Hey, anybody eat at this restaurant the other day? Something wasn't quite right with the pizza. Just wondering what was going on. Nobody answered her question, but she got 50 replies about all the other pizza restaurants in the area that are better.
Interesting. Very interesting. So no one actually replied to it. They just automatically went to this is better.
Yes.
Okay. Um,
And that like really stood out to me
sure. I mean,
because nobody is absorbing the question. Like we've tried a bunch of pizza restaurants in the area. I consider myself as a fairly large fellow, a bit of a pizza connoisseur, right? And
sure.
um, we like this place because they're right around the corner from us. They deliver. Their food is always hot. It's always good. It usually arrives in less than 20 minutes, right?
Not bad.
And we've gotten a lot of different foods from them. It's always been a pleasure. One night out of the 30 or so times we've ordered in the past year since we moved here, um, it was off. It's just something wasn't right.
Mm-hmm. It
But that's
happens.
all we want. That's all we want to know. Hey, did they get a new chef? Did anybody hear anything?
Right. Just get a little feedback, just to, if anybody else might have experienced the same thing.
Yeah. No, that place sucks. Go here instead.
Yeah. Oh man, like
Bitch,
that's
that's not what I asked you.
right. That's
You know?
that's just gross, dude. Like, I mean, like it shows like how little attention is put on a question or a subject or just like even just what you fucking said, Just like I just said something and you're already jumping to like something else. And we do it all the
Yeah.
time and I experience it, 5 days a week.
Sure.
But it's just I don't know, maybe it's just the way that like people are now, like that there's a lot of
Dude,
obligation, there's a lot of justification.
it's like if you said to me that you were going to get an oil change and I said, don't buy a Mazda, buy a Subaru.
Right, it's like you know nothing about the technology in the Skyactiv engine in my car. Like maybe you should
Right.
probably hear about that first.
Right. Or maybe I should not worry about what fucking car you're driving and just worry about the oil change that you
Right,
get done.
right.
Anyway, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's a
I'm in
weird
a very
thing.
negative mind space.
I can hear it, man. Settle down. Eat a donut.
Oh God, I wish I had a donut.
Dunkin' Donuts has a Easter donut right now, and it's the most colorful donut I think I've ever seen. There's a fucking peep in the middle of it.
Oh, that's gross. No, thank you. No, thank you. I just went so last week I was in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And I had an opportunity to go to the Reading Terminal Market. Are you familiar with it?
It sounds somewhat familiar.
It was compared to Quincy Market.
Oh,
As
really?
far as, yeah, I don't recall Quincy Market being quite like this, but I have only seen certain parts of it. So,
You mean like Quincy Market in Boston?
Yeah. Exactly.
Got it.
So, there's a lot of food vendors, but there's also like people like you can go and get produce there, or you can get, raw meats and things like that. And they have a lot of restaurants, and there's a place, and I believe that they were, oh, what the fuck was the name of them? Donuts. I gotta look it up because they were the best fucking donuts I've ever had in my life.
Yeah, generally I find that
Yeah.
donut vendors in cities, are generally like really fucking good.
It's called Beeler's Donuts, and
Mm,
they're basically like the Amish,
okay.
but they hand roll everything and then they fry them, and they're just unbelievable,
I believe it.
unbelievable. So
Love a good donut.
yeah, I'll link you to that too.
Do it, man. I'll take all the links.
Oh goodness! All right, I've gone so far off track. Do you have anything else that you wanted to touch on while we're still here? Because we have to start wrapping things up.
We do. All I can say on a kind of end note, don't spoil games and like what you like, and don't feel the need to explain yourself. That's my closing statement for episode 22.
It's very moving, very touching.
Well, I hope it sits with people, and I mean that seriously.
Yeah. I think it's I think something that we all need to be conscious of, both topics.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you need to be willing to, stand behind what makes you want to be a gamer.
Yeah. And if that means you want to play Duck Hunt every goddamn day, then that's the game you play.
I agree. So, on that note, folks, thank you for listening to us babble incessantly about donuts for the past hour. Follow us on social media at WDGRPodcast. Hit us up on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, wherever you get your podcasts. We're there. Go ahead and hit that download button. Will, if somebody would like to follow you, how can they find you?
Will_gear, preferably on Netscape.
And you can find me on Tripod at scionstorm.tripod.com. Man, I wonder if that actually still works.
What about LiveJournal? Wasn't that like a thing at one point?
I was a Zanga guy.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
You asked?
I suppose I did.
Look, man, when I was in high school, I was like depressed and goth and shit. So,
so you weren't on LiveJournal? Because I feel like a lot of goth depressed.
No, I was on Zanga because everybody was on LiveJournal.
Oh, so you had to be a little obscure.
Yes.
You're like, I don't shop at Hot Topic. I shop at Spencer's Gifts.
Actually, I did shop at Hot Topic.
I bought a couple things from there.
Yeah. I had a chain wallet. I had leather pants.
Yeah, I had a chain wallet. I had a weird, like, I don't know, leather studded, like, bracelet thing. It was terrible. But hey, you live and learn, right?
Hey, man. You know what? When you're young, you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
I feel like this Capcom stick belongs at Spencer's Gifts.
Oh God, I don't think Spencer's would even put that there.
Underneath like a black light in the corner.
Next to like a beer bong.
Yeah, right by like the the Phish poster with like mushrooms and shit glowing in the dark. That's where it belongs. Maybe somebody peed on it. That's horrible. I'm sorry, Capcom. I mean, I'm not sorry, but I'm sorry.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next week.
See ya.